26th station. Enso, the circle of inner harmony. E must first discover the nature of our existence, if we wish to find our own. W passion and develop it, as Zen teachings would have it, in order to achieve. These techniques are employed which are aimed at revealing what is hidden inside us. Shodo, calligraphy, haiku, poetry, koan, riddles, and meditation. Drawing the so-called Enso circle is one of the Zen Shodo techniques for drawing our mind into the present, an essential requirement if we are to flow and be at one with our Ikigai. The technique is at once both simple and difficult to carry out. It involves sketching a circle by hand in one brush stroke, while leaving the mind free and uninhibited. The art of repetition. Japanese calligraphy artists draw this symbol of Japanese minimalism with one stroke. It does not matter if ink drops fall around it. Nor does it matter if it is imperfect. There are no perfect Enso circles. They can be complete or incomplete, but no two are the same. They are all different and unique. According to Japanese wabi-sabi, true beauty lies, as in nature, in the imperfect, ephemeral, or incomplete. The Enso circle is a photograph of the mind, a direct projection of the consciousness. Through Enso we can express much more than with words. Sho Teramoto, one of the best-known calligraphers in Japan. What is important about this experiment is not that you create better or worse. The key lies in how the process is repeated. This is commonplace in martial arts. The repetition of simple movements is the key to making our body and mind at one with the thing we wish to learn. Before the age of 18, the Japanese have to learn almost 2,000 different kanji characters, and the only way to do so is by repeating them. Having to repeat the same strokes hundreds of times to learn to write a single character may seem boring or pointless from our Western viewpoint, as may spending an entire day drawing Enso circles. But this repetition trains our heart in the art of patience. This is fundamental if we are going to sustain our Ikigai. They say that you can tell what a person is like from the Enso circle they have drawn. It is a reflection of their personality, a mirror of our mu, the empty space or nothingness. Apparently, Apple's new building, which so happens to be circular-shaped, was one of Steve Jobs' last ideas and was inspired by Enso and his years of Zen practice. A burglar at the calligrapher's house. Before summing up the spirit of Enso in the final exercise, we shall finish with the story of Ryokan Taigu, 1758-1831. A Zen monk admired by Steve Jobs. Taigu led a hermit's existence, devoted to poetry and calligraphy. He is considered one of the best Japanese calligraphers of all time, and his Enso circles hang today in Kyoto museums. The legend goes that one night, the monk came across a thief who had gotten into his home. But the intruder had found nothing of value after searching through the entire house. Ryokan Taigu said to the thief, "You shouldn't leave empty-handed. Take my clothes as a gift." The thief accepted the clothes and left. The monk then sat down naked and, contemplating the night sky through the window, thought to himself, "Poor thief. If only I could have given him this beautiful moon." As the night came to an end, Ryokan Taigu took out his paintbrush, some Japanese sumi-e ink, and wrote this haiku. The thief left behind the most important thing, the moon at my window. How to draw an Enso circle preliminary note. Under no circumstances, think about whether or not you are drawing well. Simply let your hand move and draw the circle. It is important to keep your mind clear of rational thought so that your body, arm, and hand have the freedom to create. 1. Buy a paintbrush and black ink, or simply use a thick marker. Also get hold of good quality white paper. 2. Before turning your hand to the sketch, breathe deeply once, inhaling and exhaling as much air as you can. 3. Draw the circle with a single stroke. Your hand should not touch the paper, since the movement has to be carried out with the whole arm. Shidoka, professional Japanese calligraphers, use their whole body to draw an enso circle. To do that, they draw while kneeling or even standing up. 4. Do not judge it when you see it on paper. The circle can be open or closed, symmetrical or asymmetrical. Anyhow it looks is fine. 5. Go on to drawing the next circle. Final note. Drawing the enso circle is an activity we may practice as a preamble to another habit to clear our mind of worries. For example, we may do it just before writing in our diary to get our emotions flowing freely, thus enabling us to express them in writing. See 27th station. KAOAN. The power of lateral thinking. Japanese culture loves winding paths, like the curve in the enso circle. Even for J spiritual teachings, the master prefers to use mysterious tools instead of mantras, so that the pupil reaches a higher plane by him, herself. One such tool in Zen is the koan, a question which aims to confound the student's mind in order to activate their lateral thinking, thereby destroying logical thinking patterns. These philosophical conundrums can be used to delve into our subconscious with paradoxical questions that stimulate our mind to lead it into satori, sudden enlightenment. Given that rational thinking will not bring us solutions, the answer, sometimes as disconcerting as the question, often appears in the student's mind spontaneously. The so-called mondo, like the one that follows, exemplify these peculiar dialogues between master and disciple. A monk asked his master, "Which is the path?" "How pretty this mountain is," the master replied. "I didn't ask you about the mountain. I asked you about the path," the monk retorted. "Until you cannot go beyond the mountain, you will not be able to reach the path," replied the master, a work of introspection. The conversation between the monk and the master may be interpreted in many ways, and we feel the urge to answer back and a desire to continue the conversation with the master. In Zen monasteries, the master gives the disciple a single koan, which he will focus on for days, using it as an object of meditation. There are monks who spend years working on a single koan. It is not so much about studying as a work of introspection. When the student's lateral thinking, intuition, is activated, he sees the light and then requests a dokusan session, consultation with the master. When the conversation is over, if the master considers the disciple to be ready, he assigns him a new koan. Otherwise, he will have to continue with the same one. According to Zen, logical thinking distances us from the essential nature of the universe. Lateral thinking versus vertical thinking. Everybody has found themselves with the typical problem that appears to have no solution until suddenly a surprisingly simple solution emerges. Once you have thought of it, the solution turns out to be so obvious you cannot understand why it was so hard to find. Of course, this kind of problem can be difficult to solve if you use vertical thinking. Lateral thinking does not only focus on resolving the problem, it also takes into account new ways of seeing things and all kinds of new ideas. Edouard de Bono, lateral thinking, slapping the teacher, moving your hand like a branch swaying in the wind, or tearing up the piece of paper the koan is written on and tossing it to the floor, can all be valid responses to a koan. There is no right or wrong answer. The more creative and less rational the response, the easier it will be for the light to dawn in the disciple's mind. Some koans for beginners to carry out the exercise in this chapter. This list of questions is a good way to explore the power of lateral thinking. What does a one-handed clap sound like? Why did your dog bark all night? If you meet Buddha, kill him. Why doesn't the bird fly? What was our original face before our parents gave birth to us? There is plenty of water in the desert. What is the water? How can you save a unicorn? Koan practice. The basic technique for analyzing and studying this tool is as follows. 1. Choose one of the riddles from the list above. 2. Dissect the elements in the koan. 3. Analyze the action it suggests. 4. Let the koan elements and action float freely in your subconscious until an intuitive answer comes to the surface. Do not hurry in your search for the answer. The koan is like a seed we plant inside ourselves. It will take its time to bloom. Let the koan dwell in your subconscious for as long as necessary. At times of stress during the day, you can use the koan as an object of meditation to bring your mind into the present and let it act like a kind of stress medicine. Once you have practiced with half a dozen koan, you can create your own during a brainstorming session at work, if you work in a group, or with a group of friends, simply for the pleasure of activating your lateral thinking. 28th station, mindfulness, cultivating your undivided attention. In addition to practicing lateral thinking, mindfulness is a very useful technique. For working on your Ikigai, since it enables us to flow and dig deeper into what we are doing. Although this concept has come to the West recently, at heart it is a skill which has been practiced in the East for over 2,000 years in the various schools of meditation. Mindfulness, or full attention, is a state of alertness about the present moment in which, calmly and non-judgmentally, you are aware of your feelings, sensations, thoughts, and body movements. In other words, it is a state in which we are fully aware of the moment, capable of living for the here and now. As strange as it may seem, it is not a situation we normally find ourselves in. Rushing around, dealing with tasks, being deafened by the noise around us, often lead to our thoughts distracting us from the matter at hand. If we are constantly running on autopilot, we will be quite unaware of the things that matter the most to us. For example, many people feel sad when they reach 50 or 60 because they did not pay their children enough attention when they were little. They were too busy at work or treated them the same way they were treated, forgetting how painful that was. Sharon Salzberg. Training yourself to live in the present. Concentrating on the present is the best medicine to prevent the future being full of regrets about the past. And we can achieve it by practicing giving things our undivided attention. If you have already found your Ikigai, put your 5 senses to work on it as if your life depended on it. Leave everything else out, make your passion your entire universe, and forget about time while you are engaged with it. If you still haven't found it, focus your attention on the search. But do it happily, with a playful spirit. As Mother Teresa said, be happy in the moment, that's enough. Each moment is all we need, not more. If we become aware of the fact that each moment is unique, we will not need to carry on looking for happiness. Master Osho claimed the best training for the present is to give yourself up to a goal-free mental state and abandon all hope of getting results. 4 activities for developing mindfulness. 1. The human statue. Sit down or remain standing as still as possible. 2. Become aware of each part of your body. Remaining in a completely motionless state makes you pay attention to every muscle in your body. 2. 5 senses, 5 sensations. With this exercise, you will work on your ability to consciously perceive what is around you. Think of 5 sensations you can feel here and now through each one of your 5 senses. 3. Slow race. This exercise is about doing things as slowly as possible. For example, at mealtimes, take enough time to chew well, savor the flavors of the meal, and enjoy what it looks and smells like, as well as the feeling of fullness it gives us. 4. Say your name to bring yourself back. This exercise is focused on making you aware of your thoughts. Whenever you realize you're having negative thoughts or are worrying about something or getting sidetracked from the task at hand, call out your name. In so doing, you will get back to the present and realize you were digressing. 29th station. Serendipity. When accidents are fortunate. Have you ever thought that some of the best things in life, including discoveries that will mark your life, happen by accident? In this chapter, we are going to talk about serendipity. The word serendipity was first used in the 17th century by the British writer Horace Walpole in a letter he wrote to a friend. In it, he explained to him how the characters in the Persian fairy tale, the three princes of Serendip, were always traveling and making chance discoveries. But the three princes did not await their luck inside a castle, surrounded by wealth, waiting for good things to happen to them. They were brave and wise, never gave up, and continued their search for good fortune even when things were not going well. Look for something, find something else, and realize that what you found is more suited to your needs than what you thought you were looking for. Lawrence Block. Serendipity is not magic in the world of science. It is well known that many great discoveries have been made by accident. Perhaps the most famous of them is the discovery of penicillin. Fleming forgot about a petri dish he had left in the laboratory, and after a few days realized that something in the dish was killing the bacteria in it. Instead of ignoring it, he set about analyzing what had happened. In fact, modern-day pharmaceutical companies have realized planning does not always produce the best results. So they are adding unexpected and random events to their research protocols, which increase the chances of serendipity being activated. Serendipity is not magic. What would have happened if Fleming had simply thrown the dish away? Or if he had been so tidy that the laboratory was always clean, with no chance of him leaving a bacteria-filled petri dish on the table? Like actors playing an active part in our lives, serendipity demands that we pay the utmost attention to what is going on around us, especially to events that are out of the ordinary. Apparent oversights, errors, seemingly irrelevant opportunities. Maybe they are not irrelevant. A highly productive visit. Steve Jobs did not discover the visual interfaces for personal computers that are characteristic of Macintosh, but it was his active, curious role that enabled him to acquire the knowledge and ideas. Undoubtedly, it also helped to be in the right place at the right time. Several of his colleagues insisted that he visit the Xerox PARC laboratories. They had trouble convincing him because Steve Jobs had absolutely no interest in what they were doing there, but finally he agreed. The technological developments he saw on that visit sparked off a series of connections in his mind, which would forever change the history of computing. Let the unexpected in. Have you ever said no when someone invited you to go on a trip? Has a client asked you to visit their research laboratory, but you declined the offer because you were too busy? Have you been invited to an event or a party on a Friday, but you didn't feel like going? Maybe you should say yes more often, because you never know where the inspiration to awaken your Ikigai might be waiting for you. Serendipity helps to discover things that we didn't know we didn't know. We humans tend to flee from the unknown. We feel safer going around in the same old circles. But if we do not leave our comfort zone, we will never discover the things that we don't even know we don't know. The key is to create favorable conditions to increase the chances of the unexpected happening. The best way to create serendipity is to give the world signals saying, "Hey, I'm over here. This is me, and this is what I like and what I..." If you are at home watching television all day, nobody will come to you, and nothing will happen. If you go out for a coffee without telling anyone, you will almost certainly end up reading the newspaper alone, and most likely nothing will happen. Creating serendipity requires dynamism. We have to get out and about and be active to provoke situations where the number of things we do not control or have not planned is high enough for the fortunate accident to take place. 3 paths to serendipity. We can divide the techniques for creating serendipity into 3 broad categories. 1. Giving the world signals, announcing we exist and showing what we think and do. 2. Adding randomness to our life. 3. Getting out and about in the world, given that the most important thing is to be in the right place at the right time. Ideas for giving the world signals that will help to create serendipity. Publish on social networks. Fewer than 1% of users create internet content. If you publish, you are already above the other 99%. Write about what is on your mind. Talk about the last film you saw or publish photos of interesting places. Write an email to the author of a book you liked or send a message via social networks to the director of the last movie you saw. Even if they do not answer you, you are sure to brighten up their day and make them feel grateful. Besides, can you imagine if they do send you a reply? Make yourself a business card. In Japan, it is inconceivable not to have one, and give it to all the people who might be of use for your Ikigai. If someone gives you their card, write them an email the following day. Offer your help to someone you would normally not offer it to. Ask for help to do something you would normally not need help to do. Ideas for adding randomness to your life and increasing the chances of serendipitous events happening. Organize a dinner with a mixture of friends who do not know each other. Arrange to have a coffee with someone you do not know very well, but that you feel could become a good friend. Act as a matchmaker between 2 people who do not know each other if you believe there could be good chemistry between them. Organize a party with a surprise theme. If you have an executive position in a company and want to increase serendipity, change the surroundings so that the employees interact more. Create a cafeteria area where the employees will feel comfortable and want to linger longer to chat and swap ideas. Apple built their new corporate headquarters, Apple Park, in the shape of a circle, as we mentioned in the Enso chapter, in order to make their employees move around through all their departments. Before his death, Steve Jobs asked architects to come up with the best design for increasing chance meetings among his employees. Follow people or media on social networks or read webs that talk about things you are normally not interested in. Outwardly unrelated subjects increase the chances of making creative connections in our mind. Read a book from a genre or on a subject you would never normally read. Study a new discipline. Gain access to other knowledge or skills, learn languages or practice different sports. This will increase your chances whenever you find yourself in the right place at the right time. Do something you have never done before. Ideas for getting out and about in the world and increasing the chances of being in the right place at the right time. Travel more often. It is best if you travel with friends or to places where you know people who can introduce you to the local scene. On short journeys, change the car or public transport for walking and notice what is around you. Take a different route to work. Go to a restaurant you have never been to. 30th station, RAC. Random acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness is a term coined by the writer Anne Herbert in the early 80s to refer to actions that help to raise other people's spirits. A RAC can be something as simple as making someone smile, flattering someone we wouldn't normally speak to, or something involving more of a commitment, like volunteering to help out a community. The full title of the book, written by Anne Herbert and Margaret Paloma Pavel, is Random Kindness and Senseless Acts of Beauty, and it was illustrated by the Matisse of Japan, Mayumi Oda. The upside of the bad. Mayumi's illustrations show animals dying under the black rain following the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima. But little by little, the cats, snakes, rabbits, frogs, and fawns get organized, and each of them takes on a small altruistic task that helps the others. One of them plants a tree, another grows potatoes, others look for food, and the squirrels simply sing and dance at night, encouraging the others to start a new life after the nuclear disaster. The moral of the story is that you do not fight violence and hate with more of the same, but with random acts of beauty and kindness, which achieve the exact opposite of war, making love grow exponentially among people. What you give to yourself. What you do not give, you give up. Alejandro Jodorowsky. The greatness of small things. Numerous survey-based investigations have shown that kind people are happier. There is a direct correlation between our level of altruism and our personal satisfaction. Japan, unfortunately, is a place that is quite used to natural catastrophes. These remind its inhabitants they need to help one another, however small the contribution. In April 2016, an earthquake devastated several villages in Kumamoto, causing a great loss of life. Our friend Kyoto, a legendary engineer here in Tokyo, decided to leave his job for 15 days and took the train to Kumamoto. There he set up a stall serving free hot coffee to all those who had been left homeless. His coffee stand became so popular on social networks, he set up a web page to collect funds to help the victims and got tens of thousands of euros in a matter of days. It all started with something as simple as giving away coffee. Sometimes we overcomplicate life, thinking over how we could fix the world when the answer is to help from the heart by being kind and letting things flow from there. If you still have not found your Ikigai, you can make serving your community your mission. If you already know what it is, explore how your passion can help to make the world a better place. Ideas for random acts of kindness. The possibilities are almost infinite. There are as many as there are human needs. But these rack can be used as a starting point for adding a spiritual dimension to your life. Smile at the person who serves you in the cafeteria. Write a work colleague a note thanking them for any favor they may have done you, and leave it on their desk. Tell someone how much their new haircut suits them, or compliment them on something they are wearing. Send an affectionate message to one of those friends with whom, precisely because you are such close friends, you sometimes forget to say how much you love one another. Toss a busker a coin. Buy your building's caretaker or the office cleaners a tea or a coffee. Instead of meeting up with the most popular person in your circle of acquaintances, have a coffee with the shyest one who is most often alone. They need it more than anyone else. Forgive someone you fell out with a long time ago. Give money to one of the associations you trust. Buy a book you liked and make a gift of it to a friend. Tell your boss you really like the way they work. Bosses tend not to get praise, only criticism. Take a day off and go on an unforgettable outing with a friend or relative who is feeling down. Saint Station, touch, the importance of touching. How long has it been since you gave a real hug? Have you considered that? Your body and mind also need such nourishment in order for you to have energy and achieve your aims. Most of the tribes that still have a natural way of life with a connection to the night land know that touch is as important a sense as sight or hearing. Physical contact with other humans is a vital source of love for nourishing the spirit. However, in the West, we are increasingly loath to touch one another. In fact, when thinking about touching another person, many people immediately think in sexual terms. Perhaps this is because we have learned to brush hands away and keep our distance from the people around us. My point is that touch starvation is not an affliction of the few, but is spiraling outward into the culture of the masses. The awkwardness and inappropriateness of where, how, and whom we touch is an issue that affects everybody, whether you are somebody who is unaware that you even need touch, or a single man or woman who has been horny for the last 15 years because you are not in an intimate relationship. And the only way you know how to get touch is through sex. Or even if you are surrounded by family and children who want to love you and touch you, but you don't know how to take it. You are affected by touch, or the lack of it. Mariana Kaplan, to touch is to live. An essential sense, the researcher Mariana Kaplan, PhD in philosophy, psychology, and anthropology, uses scientific data to explain the importance of touching and being touched by others. Touching is something we learn to love, fear, or respect as children. If we are forced to tolerate touching we do not want in our childhood, such as having our cheeks pinched or being made to kiss family acquaintances, we may either become a little averse to touching or, without realizing it, force our children to do the same. And the reverse is also true. If people were not very affectionate with us when we were children, we will probably feel uncomfortable and insecure touching others. The children of Romania. On the subject of receiving palpable affection, Boris Cyrulnik cites the example of a group of children he treated who were crammed into the orphanages of Romania by the Ceausescu regime. Those children were neglected because of a really crazy political philosophy. Women were forced to bring children into the world but were incapable of raising them. The orphanages were full to overflowing and nobody took care of those children. They were healthy little things, but the atmosphere was sick, and they were not given the chance to mingle with others. So their physical and psychological development was arrested. They behaved like they were autistic, and when we studied them, we saw signs of cerebral atrophy. To begin with, we decided to replace the orphanage with substitute families. After a year, the cerebral atrophy had disappeared. The so-called neuronal resilience had occurred. What happens is that actions like speaking to another person, touching them, feeding them, challenging them, or rewarding them stimulate the brain and hormonal secretion. Learning to touch again, feeling we are connected to others, is vital for our emotional health, which is why it is important to learn to approach others in a friendly, healthy, fear-free fashion. It is not a question of giving out free hugs on the street, as was the fashion a few years ago, but of showing affection to the people that matter to us. People who see touching as something natural have more self-esteem and are calmer. As Kaplan says, when people feel loved as a result of the abundance of touch and affection in their lives, they naturally extend themselves to touch others, be it by a simple pat on the shoulder or a touch of the hand. Secure in them sleeves, they are open to the other's response, but not expecting it. Their sense of safety and inner stability does not depend on how other people respond to them. They touch in order to express themselves, and so that others may feel cared for. As part of our map of objectives, it is worth including this point about learning to touch our friends and loved ones again. If we do not feel comfortable at first, we may start with a handshake, a pat on the shoulder, or by placing our hand on a loved one's arm. We will notice immediately not only that we feel better, but that there is gratitude on the face of the person we touch. Build touching into your life. Touch is one of the most neglected senses, but we can restore it to a prominent place in our life through a series of simple steps. 1. Make a habit of always greeting and saying goodbye to your partner and/or family with a hug and a kiss, however much of a rush you are in. When you are with your partner, regularly take hold of their hand so that your bodies also understand you are united. 3. Make a ritual of greeting friends you have not seen for a long time with a hug. 4. Speak affectionately, appreciatively and gratefully with the people near you. Beautiful words also caress. ND station, uncertainty. The best plan is not to have one. Imagine that, just for once, you have gotten on a train and have no idea where it is taking you. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in this situation. Which emotions do you feel emerging? Initially, anxiety might appear in the face of the uncertainty, but this feeling is sure to be replaced by the healthy excitement brought on by a new adventure. Human beings are always caught up in the balancing act of the inner conflict of wanting both freedom and control at the same time. If there is great uncertainty, we get stressed, but when faced by an excess of control, we feel oppressed and want to escape from our routine. Finding the balancing point between control and uncertainty where we feel comfortable is an important key to self-fulfillment. The Good Traveler. I find it funny how all the travel guidebooks in Japanese focus on places to eat. I once said leafing through a guidebook to Hawaii for the Japanese. Better than Western guidebooks, which only show important buildings and monuments. My workmate Toyota said to me, "Ha! You lot only think about eating." If you focus your energy on planning every step of your trip, you won't leave space for making discoveries and getting to know the locals. It's better to travel to enjoy your passions than to go and take photos of the famous sites in all the guidebooks, like they're a list of things to do. Explained Toyota, "My passion is food. The thing about taking photos of famous places is if you're collecting. Pokemon is something you guys also do a lot when you travel around Europe," I answered back. "Ha! You're right. I suppose I'm strange for a Japanese because I like adventure and not planning things. One of my life maxims is Lao Tzu's. A good traveler has no fixed plans and has no intention of even arriving. The who with is more important than the where. Over planning limits our possibilities and may end up making any trip boring, be the trip physical or mental. An excess of planning can kill the most vibrant passion, whereas uncertainty brings us surprises every day. This is why it is important for spontaneity to guide you in the search for and practice of Ikigai. If you decide to go on a short break, instead of planning every detail of what you're going to see, focus your efforts on deciding who you're going to travel with. Just as with everyday life, the people who accompany you on your trips are much more important than what you are going to see. Your travel companions add to or detract from the experience, so make sure you choose who you go with wisely. It is vital for them to be people who will think like you when it comes to making decisions once you are on your way. Traveling with a perfect plan is like seeing a movie when you have already read about exactly what is going to happen in each scene. If you wish to embrace adventure and discover new things, buy your plane tickets, book a room for the first night, and let yourself be led by your instinct. Ideas for traveling with Ikigai. If you want your trip to be memorable and an inspiration for your projects, don't try to take in too much. Set yourself a small number of highly motivating objectives. For that, you should seek out the most interesting thing related to the thing that inspires you that can be done in the area. For example, if you are passionate about astronomy, buy yourself a ticket to Hawaii and plan a visit to the Mauna Kea Observatory, even though you probably have other options closer to home. Talk to the people who work at the observatory and let them guide your trip. Some advice to match the trip to your passion, not to what the guidebooks dictate. Look on the internet for events going on in your destination that are in line with one of your passions. If you like to dance, look for a dance show. If you like the theater, buy tickets for a performance. If you like photography, join a local group or workshop. Stroll around with no route or objective and let yourself be carried along by whatever grabs your attention. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. If there are more people walking in one direction than another, go with them and you will probably come across something interesting. A local market. A festival of some kind, religious celebrations. Stay at someone's home rather than in hotels. Use any internet service. That allows you to connect with people who make their rooms or homes available for travelers. Only book the first plane ticket and the first place to sleep. Leave the rest to chance. Join an evening class. It can be anything from a yoga or painting class to a cooking workshop. You will meet local people, and few travelers venture to join classes in the places they travel to. Can you imagine the kind of people you will meet if you spend the evening at a yoga seminar in Anchorage, Alaska? Don't worry if things don't work out perfectly. Celebrate it. You will have a good anecdote to tell on your return. RD Station, Kaizen. Constantly changing for the better. The original meaning of Kaizen in Japanese was change for the better. However, after being used in Japanese industry and spreading internationally. In the business world after the Second World War, its current meaning could be translated as continuously change for the better or philosophy of continuous improvement. In most cases of improvement, making a constant effort to meet the target we have set ourselves is more effective than taking a major initiative to try to solve something all at once. Toyota. Kaizen Laboratory. Toyota was one of the trailblazers in the business world in using Kaizen to improve its manufacturing processes. All of this corporation's employees play a part in Kaizen, from the factory caretakers up to the members of the board of directors. They all take responsibility when it comes to making decisions that have to do with introducing improvements and eliminating what is known as muda, useless time, elements. Of course, not only are unneeded processes eliminated, they also consider whether or not eliminating or changing something in the work environment will make it more human. Decisions are not made lightly, since many factors are taken into consideration when Kaizen is applied. One of the keys at Toyota is that they are in no hurry to introduce changes, and they analyze everything in detail before changing something. This way of working has led to them becoming the world's largest automobile company and the one that makes the cars with the lowest rate of manufacturing defects. Diagram by Karn G. Bulsuk, printed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. The PDC. A circle. When it comes to applying Kaizen, not just to business but also to our personal life, we may use the PDCA circle, which stands for plan, do, check, and act. The P for plan stage is the time to set concrete objectives and visualize what the future will be like after these objectives have been met. It is also important to describe in detail the steps necessary for the objectives to be met in accordance with what has been planned. On a personal level, this would be the time to sit down and write our New Year's resolutions. The D for do stage is there to carry out the plan designed in stage P. It is important to collect data during its execution. On a personal level, this could be something as simple as writing down the days we go to the gym each week on a calendar. If you want to be more detailed, these days you can use all kinds of quantified self-devices, such as smartwatches, to gather data on your daily life. The number of paces you have walked, intake of KCL, the time you have spent replying to emails, the time you have devoted to project A. The C for check stage is aimed at analyzing the data we collected in stage D and comparing the results with what we were hoping for in stage P for plan. It is the time to reflect on if we have strayed from the plan, if we have met the objectives, and if not, to analyze why. In his book, Kaizen, The Key to Japan's Competitive Success, Masaki Imai stresses the importance of asking yourself questions like these. Why didn't something work as planned? Why can't we make this process more efficient? Why do we go to the gym the first 2 weeks of the year and then stop going? We can question ourselves in many different ways. The key is to use the why part of the question to uncover the real reason, or what Masaki Imai calls the root of the problem. Knowing why something didn't work out as planned is key to being able to introduce changes. The A for act stage. If what we did in stage D worked well, which we can check in stage C, then in the acting stage we will carry on according to what we did in stage D, on the other hand. If things didn't go well in stage D, adjustments must be made. For example, say our normal routine is to play the piano every morning for half an hour, but in the P, plan stage, we instead decide to play for an hour every night after dinner with the aim of preparing ourselves for a concert. For a month, during stage D, do, instead of playing the piano in the mornings for half an hour, we have done so at night for an hour. At the end of the month, we analyze if we have really managed to work better at night than in the morning in stage C. Check. And we ask ourselves, oh, have we really played for an hour every day, or have we failed to do so several times because we were tired at night? Oh, or maybe we are more nocturnal, and there have in fact been several days when we have played for longer than an hour because we felt good and were focused. After answering these questions, we return to stage act and go back to playing the piano for half an hour in the mornings, if the change wasn't positive, or start playing the piano at night if our performance had improved. What we do in stage A from now on becomes our new baseline or life standard. Negative motivation with Kaizen. 1. List 3 concrete changes you need to make in your life. They may be initiatives you have already established in other chapters, but have been putting off for some time. 2. Write a sentence next to each one explaining why you need to make this change come what may. This sentence must be strong enough to act as a lever when it comes to taking the step. 3. You can visualize what your future will be like if you don't take this step in your life. For example, if you choose doing a sport twice a week as an improvement, your future visualization sentence could be, if I don't start to do sports, in 10 years' time, I'll be visiting the doctor all the time because I'll be suffering from lots of aches and pains. The objective is to activate the change by causing a shock to the system. First improvement. What will happen if I don't change in this area? Second improvement. What will happen if I don't change in this area? Third improvement. What will happen if I don't change in this area? After a month, it is important to analyze whether or not you have kept to the plan and achieved your objectives. If you haven't, don't get frustrated. What is important is to analyze the reason why and look for solutions by creating a new plan with different specific actions to the ones you used a month ago. Ask yourself these questions. After a month, why haven't I managed to make the first improvement a reality? After a month, why haven't I managed to make the second improvement a reality? After a month, why haven't I managed to make the third improvement a reality? Things not working out as planned doesn't mean failure. Failure, as Einstein said, is to always keep on doing the same thing while expecting different results. If you always do the same thing, nothing will change. This is a trap we humans very often fall into. 30